I got a question. Let's say there's a woman who's 30 who's a virgin, and then there's a woman who's she just turned 18, but she's slept with 100 men. If a man has a preference for dating the 30-year-old virgin over dating the, hold on, wait, let me think here.
Yeah, the 30 prefers.
Yeah, he prefers dating the 30-year-old virgin over the. Now, granted, she is legally an adult, so I wouldn't consider either to be P word. But
yes.
which one do you think? Like, if a man was inclined to date one or the other, which one would be more P word? The 30-year-old virgin or the 18-year-old with 100
How
bodies?
old is the man?
40.
I mean, yeah, it's legal to date an 18-year-old, but I still don't think a man that's 40 years old should be dating an 18-year-old.
Mm-hmm. But
So
I think
he should go for the 30-year-old virgin then.
But
why not?
Look at all the
what?
But look at all the
Why?
sexual experience that she's had, because you said it comes down. The virgin would suck in bed. It's giving P word, but she's a 30-year-old virgin, whereas the 18-year-old has had 100 sexual partners.
But your question is what? That who should he?
Which one is more P wordy?
I mean, both.
They're
both of age, but I do think a 40-year-old man, should he be dating an 18-year-old? I mean, to each its own, but I just don't think.
Yeah, they should. What's wrong with it?
I mean, I don't. Would you do you have a daughter or?
Yeah.
Andrew has daughters. Yeah.
You have daughters, so you.
Yeah, 4 daughters. Yeah.
You would be okay with your 18-year-old daughter dating a 40-year-old man?
Well, what would me being okay with it? Let's just assume I'm not okay with my daughter dating anybody because I'm a good dad, right? And that's all good fathers everywhere hate the fact that their daughters date anybody at any time for any reason. But the thing is I've been thinking about this because I hear women say this a lot, right? And I only hear it exclusively from women. That it's gross or in some way icky if a 40-year-old man dates an 18-year-old woman. Are you saying that an 18-year-old woman is too stupid to date a 40-year-old man?
I don't think you are thinking clearly at 18.
Okay, well then why can you vote?
Shit, I don't know.
Good question. Do you think that 18-year-old women shouldn't be able to vote?
I think...
Hang on, remember the question. Answer to the actual question. Are you saying 18-year-old women are smart enough to vote but too stupid to handle their personal affairs when it comes to a relationship? I just want to make sure I get this clear.
I think voting, I can't really say the two correlate, because getting involved with a 40-year-old man, dating a man that has much more experience and could use that to his advantage in many ways is different.
So that 40-year-old man, if he has a lot more experience and he's way smarter in this type of thing, clearly he should be able to vote. Why should the 18-year-old who's too stupid to date the 40-year-old man be able to vote? That's what I don't understand.
Stupid doesn't equal inexperienced. You could
well,
just
then
be
what's the problem
young
with them
and
having a
inexperienced
relationship?
and not stupid. Dealing with a man
okay,
is way
sure.
different,
So if that's true, then what would be the problem with them dating?
Well, I want to go back to the question that I have for you, and I want to go back to the question I have for you. You said you have 4 daughters. Mm-hmm. Do you think it would be a good idea for your 18-year-old daughter to date a 40-year-old man? Yes or no?
I would advise my 18-year-old daughter not to date any man.
No, that can't be I'm saying if your 18-year-old daughter said...
How can it not be? Do you know any would include all 40-year-old men?
I think...
So any would include all 20-year-old men, 30-year-old men, 40-year-old men, 50-year-old men, and include all of them, not just some of them. But in this case, we're talking about a 40-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman, and I'm just curious, if you think an 18-year-old woman is so fucking stupid that she can't handle her personal affairs when it comes to dating, why do we let them vote?
She never called them stupid.
Yeah, I never called them stupid, and
that's you.
I lost audio on this end.
Just how you made a comparison.
Nick,
to
did you do something?
I lost audio.
I had to adjust that. I'm gonna recall them back.
Wait, what did you change? We're getting it. We got it, Andrew. Here, I don't know if you can understand sign language. What happened, Nick?
It's just a normal audio thing that happened again.
Okay.
It's 'cause we refreshed
That's fine. So going around the table, I'm just going to get everybody's take on this. Do you object to age gap relationships? Let's say the age, let's put it at 30 and 20. Do you object to that age gap?
A 20-year-old and a 30-year-old?
30-year-old man, 20-year-old woman, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're fine with that?
Wait,
Okay.
wait, we were talking about 18 and 40.
Yeah,
So can
that
we
was a
stick
way-
to 18 and 40?
We could.
I
we
think
could
that
do
would be
that.
more fair
It is
because-
bigger.
Yeah, let's.
But I think a 30-20
No, but let's
is a
stick
bit
to-
more likely to happen.
But let's stick to what we were talking about because
I'm
that's
sure. I'm fine with
so
that.
18
Okay.
and 40.
18-year-old and
Yeah,
40.
yeah. Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to this before the audio cut out. Can you explain why it is, again, that you want 18-year-old girls to be able to vote if they're too dumb to manage their personal affairs when it comes to their
And like I
relationship?
said, she never called them stupid or dumb. That was your own words.
Well, then what would your objection be to it then?
I think that men that are 40 years old
Uh-huh.
could manipulate you, could do a lot of things, and
Well, then this
a
must
relationship.
assume that this assumes that the 18-year-olds must be stupid then.
No.
I'm sorry,
You're
are
just
you
not
usually
that
manipulated by people who are smarter than you?
You're just not going
Or
to
dumber
be
than you.
as experienced when you're 18. You're not going to be as experienced as you would be at 40 years old.
Yeah,
men
so
get
if you're
more
inexperienced,
nefarious as they get
if
older?
you're, so then this goes to my point. Hang on, let us finish our exchange here real quick, if you don't mind. This goes back to my argument then. If you're too inexperienced in the world to even manage your own personal affairs when it comes to a relationship, why would you be experienced enough to vote on the issues that would affect me and the nation? Do you want to explain that to me?
I don't talk politics, so
We're not talking politics. We're talking about voting.
Okay, so I just think just how your argument against virginity, preferring a virgin as preferring someone with blue or brown eyes, I just don't think your argument is as strong as you think it is. I don't really see the comparison.
Oh, well, what
because-
a fantastic counter argument. I don't think your argument's very good. It's not an
because
argument.
When you're
That's just saying
involved,
something.
when you're dealing with a man day in and day out, that is a lot different than sending in a vote.
Yeah.
Is that not? And
Okay,
you still
so
won't
I realize that everything on Earth that we could possibly imagine that we make an analogy to are going to be different, no matter what, right? So I can say, for instance, oh, this tastes like chicken, but it's not actually a chicken. The reason that we're making the analogy that it tastes like chicken is so that you have some reference in your mind to what the thing tastes like. We're not actually saying it's the thing itself. So knowing that, what I'm asking you here is if a man who is 40 wants to date a woman who's 18, and the woman who's 18 goes to you and says, I love him, I'm going to marry him because I love him, are you saying that that shouldn't be allowed?
I mean, people could do whatever they want. Do I think it's appropriate? No.
Yeah, what's
Do you think-
inappropriate about it?
The age gap is
Yeah, what's inappropriate about it? What's actually problematic about it? She loves him, he loves her.
There's a big power struggle there.
Well, hang on, there's a power struggle in every relationship, regardless
And
of
more
age.
so with a 40 and an 18-year-old than
Prove
someone
it.
that's...
No, that's not true for every relationship, one. There's no way you could ever demonstrate that that's true. You could say maybe the likelihood of it increases, but so what? The likelihood would also increase if he was a 21-year-old millionaire and she was a 21-year-old who worked at Starbucks. There would be a massive power imbalance. Would you say then that they shouldn't date?
Well, you're saying if they were to get married, right, would you...
Mm-hmm.
Are you married?
Mm-hmm.
You are? Can you tell me the age you got married?
I'd actually have to calculate it, but
But around time. Like, were you in your 20s, 30s?
yeah, I was in my 20s. Yeah, late 20s.
Late 20s. Okay. So do you think that your relationship or your marriage with your wife would have survived if you got together when you were 18?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good for
I
you.
mean,
But I
but
just...
let us assume for a second that I'm wrong, and it wouldn't have.
Okay.
So what? What would that have to do with anything?
I just don't think you are going to make the best relationship decisions
Yeah.
at 18 years old. That's
And
my answer.
and
yeah,
it's
no,
not-
hang on, I get it, I understand, but this is kind of become circular, right? So let's move back for a second. You're saying that the reason for this is because there's a power dynamic problem. She loves him, he loves hers not enough because there's a power issue. Isn't that what your objection is?
I just think that if you had I feel like our conversation, I could get a better, I could give you something better if you could give me what you would really, truly, honestly think about your daughter at 18 dating a 40-year-old.
Why would you need my position to know your position?
Because I think you could
Wait.
understand
Why do you
where
need
I'm
my
coming.
position to know what you think about an issue?
I think because you would be able to understand where I'm coming from if you were to actually be honest
so I'll give you my
about-
position again.
Okay.
I don't want my daughter to date a man her age or older than her or younger than her.
That's just not going to happen, though.
Yeah, okay, great. But now you know my position. So back to your position here. I'm just
Didn't even
curious.
answer it.
Is it the power dynamic issue? Is that what the problem is?
All
I
things
see what you're
equal,
saying,
you have to
Brooklyn.
choose. Sorry.
Totally.
No, you go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say all things equal, you have to choose between the 20-year-old and the 40-year-old for your daughter. All things equal.
Well, all things couldn't be equal. It's an impossible and illogical hypothetical in a vacuum. So if you were to just say on age alone by itself with no other contributing factors, I would probably choose for the 20-year-old.
Okay.
But so what? What does that have to do with anything?
I think
Now let's add in a single variable.
Okay.
The 20-year-old is a broke, destitute idiot, and the 40-year-old is not. Then I might choose differently, right? Because it's not in a vacuum. So understanding that that is true, I can still explain to you that I would probably have the preference for this to youth, sure, but so what? That doesn't mean I see any immoral arrangement with a 40-year-old dating an 18-year-old. That's what I don't understand and need demonstrated. That's what I want to hear. The actual problem with it is what?
I think how you see it, Brooklyn, is kind of how I see it, where it's just like, what does an 18 and a 40-year-old have in common at all?
Mm-hmm.
You're not in the same walk of life at all. He's
Well,
been
I
doing
can
it for
tell
20
you.
more
I can
years
tell you
than
what I think. What I think.
Hold on.
I can tell you what I think. I can tell you what the distinction is.
Priscilla
He really
did that.
wants to have sex with her a lot, all the time, and she wants his money. That's what it is, right? That's generally speaking what I think this arrangement would be. Is that she would go for him because she thinks he's sophisticated and has resources, and he's with her because he really wants to fuck her.
And if
That's
he
what I
doesn't
think.
have the
Essentially, it would
resources?
be.
And if he doesn't have the resources and she's just with a 40-year-old man, then what?
Because she loves him. You think that I'm going to tell my daughter that she can't marry somebody that she loves and who loves her back?
Well, you can't.
That's really weird.
You can't really tell her anything. At the end of the day, she's going to make her own
That's right.
decision.
I really can't tell her anything at the
Exactly.
end of the day. So that's why we're just moving into why this is actually, in some way, some kind of problem.
Well, can you?
Why
go
is
back
this
to what you were gonna
actually
say?
a problem?
For me, I think that we're thinking the same in the same way of just, I don't think I have anything involved. My mom's 40. I don't have really anything in common with my mom other than she's my mom, because we're just at different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And do I think it's the worst thing on a planet? No, because they're both legal.
Mm-hmm.
But
Wait, hold
Would
on.
I
On
do
this
it?
whole,
No,
wait,
at all.
On this whole commonality
'Cause I
thing,
do think
though,
it's
really, on this
inappropriate.
commonality thing, though, really quick, for anybody here, do you think like it's high on the totem pole that like the major thing you're looking for when it comes to a partner is things in common?
yes.
Like if you don't like, I've never seen like a really attractive girl and been like, she doesn't like the same music as me. Guess I'm not gonna fuck her.
She's never going to play Dungeons and Dragons with me. Damn it.
Like,
I think
But
it's a
you know
whole
what?
bunch of stuff
You know what?
connected.
You're super hot, and I thought that you were gorgeous, and the woman of my dreams till I found out you don't play D&D. That's a deal breaker.
I think people connect on having things in common.
Exactly.
And
What does-
I don't
wait, let
know
me ask
how
you a
you
question.
necessarily connect at 18 with a 40-year-old. So I do agree
Yeah,
with Brooklyn
but
in that sense.
I mean, whoa, hang on. I'm just really curious, right? Why wouldn't there be tons of overlap and connection? So, for instance, name a connection you would have with a 21-year-old that you couldn't have with a 40-year-old. I'd like to know a single one.
Well, most 40-year-olds I would feel like have a wife and kids.
Okay, yeah, but
So,
this
I mean,
one
that's
doesn't.
not necessarily
Hang on,
fair. I
hang
do
on,
know what you're
hang
saying.
on.
but
This
answer
one
his
doesn't
question.
have a
Yeah.
wife and kids. So, can you name a single connection you can have with a 21-year-old that you can't have with a 40-year-old? Go ahead. The floor is open. Name one.
A 20-year high school reunion.
A what?
That's about it. or like, like a high school reunion. I haven't had one yet. I'm 21.
That's a connection?
I'm just trying to,
But do you think?
I guess so.
You think that would be a basis for disqualifying? Do you think that would be a basis
can
for
you give me
disqualifying?
a single emotional or interest connection that you can have with a 21-year-old man you can't have with a 40-year-old? Honestly,
I have a lot more experience and
You're not
knowledge than I
answering-
do
you're not answering
at
his
20 years
question.
old right now.
I would say
But you're not
being in
answering
the
his
same
question.
age or stage of life.
Exactly. That's what I just
Pretty
said.
big
Yeah.
difference.
Complaining about college
then
classes.
I'll just ask you the same question.
Exactly.
Perhaps you'll answer
Going
it.
out
Can
and
you
partying.
name a single emotional connection or interest connection that you can have with a 21-year-old man you can't have with a 40-year-old man? I'd actually like to know the answer to
I think
the
you
question.
would form an emotional connection by being in the same stage of life. You're experiencing adulthood for the first time.
And you can also form emotional connections to the opposite of that. You can form emotional connections with people who are outside of your experiences. You've heard perhaps opposites attract. You've heard perhaps that people enjoy traits in other people that they themselves don't have. There's
I don't
all
think you're
sorts of these
necessarily
types of
gonna-
emotional. Yeah, so I'm just asking specifically then, what is that thing, that emotional connection you're talking about? What specifically there could you have with a 21-year-old you couldn't have with a 40-year-old?
Neither one of your guys' brain is fully developed when you're 18 and 21. When you're 40, you're a full-grown man. Your brain is developed. You've already
No, your
seen-
brain is fully developed at 18. I don't know what you're talking
It's
about.
not until
Your brain-
25.
I think it's 25.
It's
no?
not.
25.
Actually,
25,
what you've
Your
done is
frontal
you've
lobe
taken
finishes.
one study, which is talking about the prefrontal cortex, and you've misread it,
It's
like
not one
most people
study.
do. Oh, really? How many studies is it?
Couldn't tell you. Sorry, I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I know. And can you name the study?
No, I can't name
Wait,
it.
so
No,
wait.
you can't name it. So the thing is like you're talking about the prefrontal cortex, and the thing is the prefrontal cortex begins to degrade after the age 26. People forget that part. It degrades. So if it degrades, then wouldn't that mean if you're a 40-year-old man that you have a degraded prefrontal cortex, whereas a 25-year-old woman would have a prefrontal cortex in her prime? So wouldn't that make you equal?
Don't things start to degrade after they've reached like their prime?
Right. So if it reaches its prime and it begins to degrade, but let's take a look at this attribute, right? So you can have a fully developed prefrontal cortex even before the age of 26. You can have that. It's not even a problem to have. And you can have such minute differences. What if it only works at 0.5% better, or a quarter of 0.5%? That's why you can't extrapolate from studies like this. You can't take this and extrapolate that we can only consider you an adult at 26 because everybody's mind develops differently. So the question becomes this. And by the way, if that's the case, wouldn't only 26-year-old women be able to vote? Wouldn't only 26-year-old women be able to buy cars? Shouldn't only 26-year-old women be able to go out and enter into contracts with other people?
I don't think anyone's saying that it should be illegal to date someone that's 40 years old.
Right. Okay, great. Then let's get back to this then. What emotional connection can you only have with a person in your age bracket you couldn't have with an age bracket of a person who's 20 years older than you?
I think I already stated my answer to that.
Wait, can I ask
Which
you a
was
question?
what?
To this idea of commonality, couldn't you also argue, though, that there might be too much commonality between two 20-year-olds because they're both maybe emotionally immature, but if you had somebody younger girl, they might be a little bit more able to be like, okay, she's acting like this, but he has more emotional maturity because he has that experience that you guys are talking about, so he would be able to be in a way more nurturing or at least more aware of how to deal with her.
I think when you're with somebody that's your age, you're getting to learn and figure it out together.
I have a
You make the
question.
mistakes that you can learn.
So I have a question for you. Do you think that all older women are super mature and always conduct themselves properly in relationships,
No.
and all younger women are just these like chaotic, can't conduct themselves in a relationship? Is that your position?
No.
Because I can tell you from experience, I've had a lot of experience dating women in their 30s and 40s. And they're just as, if not more,
Neurotic.
troublesome than women in their 20s. From my own personal experience, my own anecdotal experience. In fact, women we've had on the show who tend to be in their 30s and 40s, post-show, create more issues for us by fucking trying to do reputation destruction. I'm dealing with it right now. 40-year-old women are the ones that are like trying to do reputation destruction, doing malicious shit, than like some 20-year-old chick or whatever, she got owned in an argument.
I mean, I think, are these single women for the most part?
How's that relevant?
Bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so they get more bitter as time goes on, so they would be less good matches for a partnership because they're bitter.
Yeah, I would think so in general, but
Okay,
I
so
think you
then-
could say the
so
same
they're
thing about
bitter.
men, and that's from my experience
Right, but
with
you're
older men that go
arguing-
for younger women. They are also embittered by life, and they're jaded, and they're looking for something that's easier. for
Okay,
them
sure.
to
Let's assume
manage.
that's
Exactly.
true. Are they still selecting for what would be best for them?
Yeah, but I think it's kind of selfish to do something for your own self-interest at somebody else's disadvantage.
Well, that's really weird
Expense.
because if that's the case, then you've kind of destroyed your own argument. Because
Nick,
if
you
you're
gotta
saying
collect the phones,
that you
man.
I feel like it was good.
yeah, if you're saying you shouldn't do this thing X based out of
Maddie,
your
why don't you do
own
it?
self-interest, in this particular case, wouldn't you be telling any of these women to operate against their own self-interest?
By telling them not to date an older man?
Yeah, if they wanted to date an older man, and this older man had resources, could take care of them, and they loved him, well, I don't understand how it's not in their best interest to marry him.
I mean, if all those things are true and they're actually like a good, genuine guy, sure, then that would be in their best interest. But I
Then
think
why is it a problem?
because I think you're making up a scenario that's not representative of reality.
Exactly.
What is what's representative of reality?
That a lot of times when older men go for younger women, it is because they're looking for someone easier that they can
And
manipulate.
so why are the younger women going for them?
Because they are naive and they don't have real world experience. They're going through a transitionary stage in their life where they are leaving their home and they don't know how to make sense of the world.
So they have no accountability.
You could argue that.
Okay, so since they have no accountability, why can they vote?
I mean, that's another discussion.
No, I
I'm
think
open
it's
to
a
hearing
relevant
that.
discussion because we're either going to treat 18-year-olds as adults who can make their own decisions or we're not.
No, because an 18-year-old could be very book smart, but that doesn't ensure that she knows how to deal with romantic relationships. Romantic relationships and being book smart is different. That's why they say there's book smart and street smart. You can't just put it all in one box.
But why should we assume that she can manage any relationship in any age bracket?
She could be smart enough in the books, got all straight A's, and knows exactly what she
Yeah,
feels
no,
could
I
be
get
the
it.
best
She
next
understands
candidate.
geography and history, and she's great when it comes to politics. But this would still beg the question of asking this singular question of, if she can't manage a relationship, why should she get in any relationship?
You're bringing up why should she be able to vote if she can't be in a relationship? But I
Yeah,
just
what I'm
answered
saying is that if the
because you're
issue
bringing
is
up voting, the
experience-
voting has nothing to do
Yeah.
with dealing with
If
a man
the issue
romantically.
is experience and knowledge, and she can't manage her own affairs because she can't be held accountable because she's too young, then why are we treating her like an adult? That's the question.
I don't think there's an answer there. I do want to get back really quick to the commonality thing. So you guys were saying, well, what does a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, or 20, 40-year-old, whatever it is, they don't have anything in common. Can you just articulate to me what men and women around the same age have in common? Or I'll even grant you, what do men and women have in common?
I think it's all individually.
Yeah, but what is something that you would have in common with somebody that would be, you have something so in common that you're going to choose to be with them on that basis alone?
Maybe the way they view things in life.
Like values?
Yeah, like I feel like.
Okay,
I
so
think-
couldn't an 18-year-old have the same values as a 28-year-old?
They could, but they could have different experiences leading up to that.
Okay.
Graduating college, experiencing like the bars, anything like that. Yeah, I got like your license.
Okay, let me ask you a
as an
question. So
18-year-old 2 years ago.
let's say you're a 30-year-old man, and you don't drink, you don't party, you never did. Maybe you went to a bar once, and you want a partner who doesn't drink, doesn't party, doesn't go out to bars and clubs. Do you have more in common with a 20-year-old who's never gone out to bars and never drank, or with a 30-year-old who goes to raves, goes to music festivals, parties every weekend, and is basically a borderline alcoholic? Who would be a better partner for who? Who has more in common with who?
Are we doing the 18 and 40 now, or 20
We
and
can-
30? It doesn't.
It doesn't
matter.
really
I got
matter.
you.
I'm
Okay,
just
I
giving
see.
you, it's still an age gap.
No, I see what you're saying. I do agree. Like I said, I don't think it's wrong. It's obviously not illegal. I just.
No, but answer the question though. So
Okay.
which one do you have has more in common?
obviously the two that have the most in common.
Oh, so there is a
is
commonality.
the ones that don't drink, yeah.
But I think the issue is more so how big the age gap is. It's like the older you get, I feel like it's more acceptable than, I mean, an 18-year-old is, even though you're legally an adult, could we all agree that we were kids at 18? Right?
Yeah, I felt
Could
like
you say that?
I could feel like I was an adult.
No.
Looking back,
No,
you're like a kid. Basically.
I can't agree to that. No, I can't agree that that I was a kid at 18. No.
Childlike.
A kid would allude to somebody who is not an adult. No, I would say I was an adult at 18, or say all of you were adults at 18. I think you're trying to infantilize women because you want to make men out to be predatory, but you can't make arguments for how they're being predatory.
I'll
I think
grant you that women
regardless
are
if the
more-
woman
or
is
less
40.
mature, yeah.
So
but-
what this is typified loading of language, and you see this from feminist circles all the time. Wouldn't you consider yourself a kid at 18? No. And no, I wouldn't consider any of you to be kids at 18. I consider you to be adults at 18. I'm not going to infantilize you so that you can say that men who want to date younger women are predatory. I would need an actual argument for why they were predatory. And so far, I haven't heard one.
I think what he's trying to get at is, why do men all of a sudden become like more nefarious with age? Like, I've heard girls talk about guys and awful things that guys will do, and they're usually like college-age guys. So to that point, like, wouldn't a man who's more mature, more experienced, wouldn't he actually possibly be less nefarious than a 21-year-old, 20-year-old?
That would be nice if that were the truth, but a lot of
isn't
the times
that,
it's not.
I think that's what it's going to, is like your world, like the worldview that you think age, as a man is older, he becomes like more tactic or like calculating, and he's like, oh, here's this 18-year-old. Maybe he just got a divorce because women initiate most divorces. He's now divorced, and he wants to maybe still have kids, still have a different life, so he's going to have a younger woman, right? Would that be somebody who's like being calculated in a nefarious way? Or someone who's just saying, yeah, I want to still have a family, I want my wife to be younger? That wouldn't be like calculated in a bad way. That would be calculating in a way that's what he wants, right?
You could find a young woman that's still fertile and not go for an 18-year-old. 20 versus 30 is more acceptable. 18 versus 40.
Well, I think we were just using the extreme end of the spectrum, like a 40-year-old and an 18-year-old. But I think the point that they're going to
maybe we can tie it together a different way. So are you guys on from my perspective, the right side of the table in the green? Are you okay with sex work?
Yes.
Okay, so what if a 40-year-old woman has sex with an 18-year-old man who pays her? Is that okay?
I feel the same way.
It's not okay for them to do?
I feel like either way, it could be predatory.
Yeah, but is it okay?
Ben George donated $200. So if the 40-year-old has an 18-year-old daughter and is hip to her age's culture, having been extensively involved in her life and her friends, is he unqualified to date younger based on commonality?
Having been extensively involved in her life and friends.
He's just saying if a 40-year-old man has tons in common with an 18-year-old, why would it? He's just making the same claim. Like, why would that be a problem if they have a bunch of in common and they love each other? Back
to Andrew's thing. He was asking a 40-year-old S worker with 18-year-old male who's paying for it.
Paying for it.
Oh, yeah, they're paying for it.
Yeah,
well, that changes things. I thought.
Yeah. Is that okay?
If he's paying for it.
Why? Well, I don't understand. What's the difference? So what would be the difference then if a 40-year-old just wanted to have sex for free?
I would just personally, if I had an 18-year-old son and he was messing with a 4-year-old woman, I don't see that going over.
Unless he was paying for it?
I don't know if this is going to get anywhere. Are we on?
No. I think it's getting somewhere. It's getting to a great place. So what if he's paying for it? Is it okay then? So if he goes, hey, Mom, I just plowed a hooker. She's 40. I gave her some money. That's okay in your worldview? Just not if she does it for free?
Well, dating versus just having a one-night stand basically are two different scenarios.
Oh, so as long as 40-year-old men are just fucking 18-year-old women, it's fine.
think it's more P word.
Hang on. I just want to make sure. Let me just talk to them for a second. I just want to make sure I get this right. As long as 40-year-old men are just fucking 18-year-old women, it's fine. Just not having a relationship with them.
The 18-year-old woman, she does get to choose what she does with her body. I wouldn't.
Except who to date with it.
I wouldn't recommend that. But if she wants to make her money, because maybe she has rent to pay, whatever the case may be, she got to make means meet. That's different than just dating a man.
Wait. So let me get this right. If the roles are reversed, a 40-year-old man only wants to hump 18-year-old women, why would that be a problem? If you're saying that a woman can hump 18-year-old men as long as the 18-year-old pays her for it.
I feel the same no matter what.
You feel the same way? You just said it was perfectly acceptable.
If the gender's reversed in the same situation, I feel the same way. I feel like women can be predators too.
Yeah. So then you think that sex workers should not be allowed to have sex with 18-year-olds? They can't do scenes with them. They can't do any of those types of things, right? That would be bad, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't personally agree to it, but because they're of age to make their own decisions, then they can choose to do that. But I wouldn't say I would recommend that or that's personally right, but they make their own decisions if they're paying for it, and that's their source of income.
Okay, so what you're saying is that inside the porn industry, you would say it's bad for a 40-year-old to do an adult scene with an 18-year-old. That's like worse than if it was just a 30-year-old doing a scene with a 40-year-old?
Yes, it's worse.
It's worse?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's worse because the 18-year-old can't make these decisions?
No, I just said they're old enough to make their own decisions.
Okay, but by this logic, wouldn't you say then that 18-year-olds shouldn't be involved in sex work at all?
I wouldn't recommend someone so young getting into sex work, but I also can understand that they're of age to make their own decisions. So everyone has different circumstances in life, you know. You could have a full ride scholarship to school. Other women don't get that privilege. Not saying that all sex workers have to do sex work, but I'm in no position to judge young women who are just trying to get by.
So then we can just agree then that there's nothing actually immoral with an 18-year-old dating a 40-year-old, right?
Well, you're bringing up sex work. Dating is different than sex work.
Why would it be okay for them to have a physical relationship with each other as long as there was money involved? That's really weird.
Because that is a job and one is dating.
Yeah, what? Well, I don't understand. Why would you paying somehow change the dynamic of this power dynamic, which is what you're against, right? It's still a massive power dynamic issue, isn't it?
I think we all agree that it's not immoral. It just could be inappropriate, which is an opinion more than it is.
Well, what does inappropriate mean?
I think
what
it's
does
just
that
an
mean?
opinion. I think different things are inappropriate probably than Brooklyn and Lily do.
Like what?
I mean, do you want me to say things I think are inappropriate?
It gives them the ick. It gives them the ick.
Yeah, I just want to know. I just want to hear that it gives you the ick. There's nothing immoral about it. It's just icky. You just think it's icky.
I just think that different things are inappropriate than other things that I'm sure other people find inappropriate. Things I might find inappropriate, other people might not.
Okay.
So I think
just for the sake of time, I do have to move things on a little bit. I didn't really get an answer, though. I'll come back to this quick. We were talking about commonality. I still haven't really heard what men and women have in common.
What?
I'm opening this up to the panel. Well, you were making the. I think you were making, or maybe
well, men and women in general, or men and women as in 18 and 40-year-olds.
What would be something that a man and a woman could have in common that would be sufficient enough for them to want to date simply by virtue of having a commonality?
Maybe their religion. Yeah, religion.
Okay, but what, like, within the context of age? So we have something in common because we're about the same age. Mm-hmm. So a 70-year-old and a 20-year-old could have religion in common.
Well, I think there's a higher chance of maybe both people not having kids at a younger age or
Sure.
a marriage, and it's some people it'd be very important to them as it is to me. I wouldn't be with a man that
Right. Let's
has a
assume
child
that-
because I want it to be our both first
Let's
experience.
assume this hypothetical 30-year-old doesn't have kids, and neither does the 20-year-old.
It really is so situational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
Well,
really
but
is so situational.
you said like, okay, if it has to do with age, what do they have? Because you brought up they graduated. Well, they recently graduated at the same time. Has anybody ever dated somebody? Oh, we graduated at the same time. Let's fuck. Has that ever happened?
Probably.
I'm sure.
Yeah. How
Really?
many
Because
people there
that's
That's situational,
not because
that
I
happened
find
with
her
somebody else.
physically attractive.
I think it's all of it. It's you find
Wow, she
someone
graduated.
more attractive the more you have in common with them.
But
Yeah.
okay,
Why don't you think life
Really?
stage is a big thing to have in common? Like
you
experiencing
can have
adulthood
it in
for the
common.
first time.
Right, but if,
And trying to
if,
figure
if
out
that was
yourself
the
outside of your
hold on,
home.
if that was the attraction trigger, then all high school students would be attracted to all high school students, which clearly isn't the case, right? So it's clear to me that commonality on its own
Don't they-
is not
Sorry.
is not sufficient enough to create attraction between two people.
But I don't think any one thing is.
I think the stage in life is more sufficient for like securing a bond, but also, do you think that most high schoolers don't date other high schoolers?
That's not what I'm arguing. Of course, high schoolers date other high schoolers.
I think it seems pretty normal that people date within their
Yeah,
own
no,
stage of life.
most people date around their age, I would say. But this idea that you are precluded from finding somebody outside, like if you're precluded from finding somebody who's 10 years your senior, you can't find them attractive because they're not your age.
I don't think anyone's putting like a hard stop on it. I think most people or a lot of women just have the experience with older men where it is a little bit more predatory or uncomfortable.
Exactly. I don't even
It's
think
only
it's
predatory
more...
one direction. It's only predatory when men do it, right?
No,
she said
No,
women.
she didn't say
I didn't say that, but
Yeah, you said when men
I said that most women go through that experience.
go through what experience?
Where you
Dealing
have
with
older
predatory
men
men.
That are attracted to you when you're 21?
or younger.
Okay, well, let's talk about adult relationships. So fine, 18 and up.
Sure.
Women have the experience of being adults at 18 with men who are 30 being attracted to them.
And oftentimes they turn out to be predatory.
But why? How is it predatory?
Just a lot of men are. They just are.
If it wasn't illegal, why shouldn't I date a 16-year-old? I'm only 21. Not even
Well, we're
20
talking
years
about
older than
adults
them.
here, so
But like
you're the one
'cause
who's
they all-
making it about underage
Yeah, you
people.
can
Okay,
make
well.
you can make the
Okay,
you can make
well.
the same argument the same exact way.
I-
I'd be happy to get into it. So would Brian, but there are restrictions to the stream that we can't do anything about. So keep it above the 18 mark if you don't mind.
Do you think a car salesman is going to have an easier time selling to somebody that's 40 or somebody that's 18? Getting somebody to make a bad
I don't
decision.
know. I'm not an expert in
I
car
think
sales.
that they would have a lot easier time selling to somebody who's 18.
Okay.
A lot.
Why?
Well, because I think that somebody who's 18 probably doesn't have the requisite experience that a 40-year-old would have when selecting a car.
I think that's kind of my point.
Oh, that's your point. So then you're saying that 18-year-olds should not be able to buy cars?
No.
Well, wait, hang on. Why not? Why shouldn't 18-year-olds be able to buy cars?
I think they should still be able to buy cars, but I think we can also acknowledge
Wait,
that maybe-
what? I thought, whoa. But the salesman's predatory against 18-year-olds because he can
Yeah,
more easily sell
those
them
two
a car.
things can still be true.
Wait, what?
Those two things can still be true. You
Well,
can
okay,
still
yeah,
buy a
okay. So
car
those
and
two
you can
things are
be
still
predatory.
can still be true. I agree. So he's predatory because he's selling her a car, and she does not have the requisite experience of a 40-year-old to buy that car. So it's going to be easier for him, right?
Yes.
So then why would you let 18-year-olds buy cars?
Just because an
Hang on,
18-year-old.
let her answer.
I think I'm,
God.
Why
I'm
would
just
you-
trying to
why would you
acknowledge
let
that.
eight-
Sorry, I'm just trying to acknowledge that you can take advantage of people that are inexperienced.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
I
what
want you
sometimes
to
people-
acknowledge that if you agree that this is something which is happening, that 18-year-olds are getting taken advantage of in this situation or in any other situation, then why do you let them do that shit?
I'm sorry, but we didn't make the rules.
Yeah, I know. I'm not talking. Hang on. I'm talking to her. Why do you let them do this stuff if you think that everybody is being predatory towards them because they're so stupid and inexperienced that they can't make good decisions like 40-year-olds? That's what I don't get.
I guess at some point you have to allow people to make their own decisions, but that
Yeah, that's right. And
that
what
doesn't
point
make
do we
it
allow
okay
people to
for
make their own
someone to take
decisions?
some-
Hang on. What point do we allow people to make their own decisions?
we allow it at 18.
That's right. We allow it at 18. So I guess at 18 they can make their own decision to date a 40-year-old man, right?
And that still doesn't negate the fact that people can be predatory towards them.
And it doesn't negate the fact that they should be allowed in all conditions to date a 40-year-old man if they
No
would
one's
like
saying they
to.
shouldn't be allowed to.
Aren't you, though? Isn't that weird that you think that they should be allowed to, even though you think that it's predatory? That's really strange. Like, I would say, my logical brain does this. It goes, wait, if there's some industry which is super predatory towards a single group, then I would try to get rid of that industry. Wouldn't you try to get rid of doesn't that make more sense?
I mean, in some cases, I'd probably would agree for certain industries, but
Yeah, but just not with used car salesmen. They're allowed to sell cars to 18-year-olds?
yeah.
Appliance salesmen? What about houses? Can 18-year-olds
buy?
buy houses? Wouldn't a real estate agent be more easily convincing towards an 18-year-old as well?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I guess though, we just gotta let those 18-year-olds, at some point, we just gotta let them spread their wings and fly.
Are you going to stop advising your children when they turn 18?
No.
Are you going to stop trying to, like, are you just going to stop trying to direct them in the right direction and help them make better decisions?
No.
Okay, that's all we're talking about. We're not saying you shouldn't be able to do something.
What are you talking? What the fuck is this?
I agree with her. That's what that means.
See, and that's something that you wouldn't know because you're a lot older.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can't date a girl if you don't know what her little, you can't date her if you don't know what the
But it could get like
little-
exhausting having to explain lingo and
Yeah,
just
crazy stuff. Okay, so hold on.
Okay, so anyway, but I just want to finish this. I'll wrap it real quick, Brian.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I get this right. That 18-year-olds are out there being preyed on every day by hyper-predatory industries and people, but you think that they should be in order to gain experience, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And it's not going to stop me from
That means
advising
that
them.
40-year-old men who are out there being predatory, that's good for 18-year-old women because that's how they gain experience. I appreciate that very much.
Nice
Okay.
spin.
I still haven't heard anything on the commonality thing that's particularly